Tuesday, October 30th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about money and how we all need to be educated as much as possible in what money is and how our fiat money banking system, or their fiat money banking system, really rips us off, rips the public off. How the fiat money system, the banking system, the political system, the corporate system is just a mechanism to extract wealth from us. And why did I say self-educated? Well, because you won't learn this in schools. Your children, grandchildren, they won't learn this in school or at universities because the people who run the educational system as well, they've been compromised by the powers that be, who run the banking system, who run the political system. It's been all infiltrated. Can we expect reforms? Reforms won't work either. It has to come from the bottom up, from the top down. It means that the people who are in charge, they make the reforms, and it won't change anything. It will look like they've changed something, but it's still gonna keep parasiting your wealth. So after I've looked at the markets today, I want to look at a couple of books that one of them you've probably seen before, but as I get new subscribers every day, new people, I need to keep educating people, hopefully, about this subject. One of them is What Has Government Done to Our Money by Murray Rothbard of the Austrian School. I'll go over briefly this book and some of the important points, I think. And I'll put a link also below in the description if you want to buy one. You can probably find a free PDF as well online. And the other one is this one here. It's a big chunky one. It's just called Money by James Ewart. And one of the subtitles here is You Shall Have Honest Weights and Measures. This is a very interesting book as well. And I'll go briefly over it and some of the some of the testimonials about it, and some of the snippets from this book. It really explains actually what the dollar bills are, legal tender laws, and things like that. So it's 8:30 a.m. London, which is 4:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at the moment. We're only 4 hours ahead for this week. In the UK, our clocks went back. Yesterday was a very interesting day. The market started very strong early on. The Dow was up over 1%, and the NASDAQ, S&P, I think they were up about 1.5%. And then they just turned around and kind of a mini crash. And at one point, the Dow was down over 500 points, over 2%. S&P was down 2% as well, and the NASDAQ was down over 3%. But then suddenly, by magic, everyone decided it was a great time to buy 20 minutes before the close, and we saw the Dow rebound 250 points in the last 20 minutes. I guess you can guess who was instigated that buying, and I won't, I don't have to tell you. Most of you are aware now of who's doing what, but this is part of the whole system. They destroy your money, they make it hard to save, and they push you to put all your savings, your pension, into the stock market. And then they screw you as well. And that's what I think is happening now. So what are the markets doing this morning? Well, gold and silver, right now, as I said yesterday, the short term, it looks like they've put a top on the precious metals. So we are weak right now. Gold tried to rally a little bit yesterday, but right now it's down 6. It's at 1223.20. The low has been 1222.50 and the high 1231. Silver is only down 1, so they got silver hammered yesterday, and today they're trying to hammer gold. They can't hammer both at the same time, it seems, Maybe they're running out of ammo. Silver is down 1 cent, 14.44. The range has been 14.40 to 14.54. Just take a sip of my coffee with my end fed mug. You can of course get this at the Monaco 64 store if you like. So what are the stock markets doing this morning? Well, the Dow is up 128 at 24,578, up 0.5%. Nasdaq is the S&P is up 0.2% or 17 points, 2659. And the Nasdaq 100 futures up 56 or 0.8% at 6776. Volatility is very high right now, so we could be 100 up to 120, up 300, and then we could be down 500. What about the currencies? Well, I think one of the things that's hurting gold at the moment is, and you need to focus on it, is that the fact that the dollar has been rebounding against the yen. And that's what's happening right now, because yesterday and last week, the dollar got down to as low as 111.36 against the yen. And since then, we've rallied and we're now at 112.84. And as I said, keep an eye on the dollar yen. If the dollar rebounds against the yen, that's going to put pressure on gold. And that's what it's done, because the pound and the euro are not doing much. So this morning, dollar yen is up another 0.4%, and gold is down 0.5. It's at, dollar yen is 112.83 now. I still think the dollar, the trend is lower against the yen. So this is just temporary in my opinion. Pound is down 13 pips, 0.1% at 127.80. And the euro is unchanged at 113.73. Dollar is down a little bit against the yuan this morning, down 0.1%, 696.80. Crude oil, pretty much where we were yesterday, not much change, 67.15 WTI, and Brent is 77.25. The 10-year yield, though, that's rebounding actually. We went down to 307 last Friday and yesterday in the 10-year yield, and it's now back up to 312. So that could be another problem for the markets. The books. So money. I think we need to know about money. I remember in high school in Brazil, and I went to an American high school in Rio called Escola Americana. And I remember one of my classes about economics, and the teacher said, well, money is not a very clear subject. We don't really know what money is. And then at university as well, I did a lot of economics and never a course about monetary history. So they don't teach you about money. So you need to learn it yourself, because that's how they, most people think that money is the piece of paper in your pocket or what you spend through your debit or credit card. But how did I get into looking at the nature of money? Well, it was kind of by accident, because for some reason I bought some gold in 2002. And then I started looking into gold. And with the internet, there's so much, literature out there about gold and how it's so important to the monetary system. And before that, I hadn't realized that it was so important to the monetary system, that it was money, like J.P. Morgan said at the Peugeot hearings in 1913, when asked in Congress what money was. He said, it's simply gold. Everything else is credit. So people need to realize that, or else we're going to keep getting, they're going to win. And cryptocurrencies, of course, is a big way towards that. But as long as we still have legal tender laws, there will be no, it will be difficult to compete. And what the legal tender laws do is that they force you to pay tax with that fiat currency, that national currency, that fraudulent fiat money based on debt. That money banks created out of thin air. And why do politicians keep doing that? Well, because they benefit as well, because they can spend a lot more money on you to buy votes. And corporations the same. They can spend, they can borrow much more easily from the big banks and snuff out the small business, mom and pop business, and become bigger and bigger. That's why the problem is not just socialism or capitalism or corporatism. It's the fiat money system. And the legal tender laws. Once we get rid of that, it's much easier. I'm not saying it's going to be smooth, plain sailing, but we need to be ever vigilant, right? So there are 2 books that I highly recommend. Anyone can read this. Anyone from, a youngster to an elderly person. It's never too late to learn. So this is what has government done to our money? And the case for 100% gold dollar by Murray Rothbard. One of the interesting things he says here in the introduction is this. It says, many people, many economists, usually devoted to the free market, stop short at money. Money, they insist, is different. It must be supplied by government and regulated by government. They never think of state control of money as interference in the free market. A free market in money is unthinkable to them. Governments must mint coins, issue paper, define legal tender, create central banks, pump money in and out, stabilize the price level, etc. And he goes on to say, historically, money was one of the first things controlled by government, and the free market revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries made very little dent in the monetary sphere. So it is high time that we turn fundamental attention to the lifeblood of our economy, money. So that's the kind of book this is. And it starts out with what the Austrian school calls the regression theory analysis of money. He goes back to how people used to barter value for value, and then they found the most marketable commodity, which is money, to facilitate indirect exchange. That's what money does, and it stores wealth, and it's also durable. It facilitates exchange, right? And it's accepted, accepted worldwide, or in a free market. It's not forced upon people, and so this is what this book is about. And it's a very easy book to read. It's less than 200 pages. You don't have to be a PhD economist. Highly recommend this. It will help you really clearly understand what they've done to our money, not only in the US, but everywhere in the world. So this is applicable everywhere. But the other book is a little different, Money. And I actually got this book in 2002, December 2002, and the author is even signed it. And you can see there, and he even time-stamped it. It says, James Ewart, Seattle, Thursday, December 19th, 2002 at 3:10 a.m. PST. So quite exact. So what are some of the testimonials about this book? It says here, I read from the inside jacket on the back. I think Money is the best introduction to American money and banking and to economics generally I have ever found. That is why I have adopted it as the main textbook for my money and banking classes at Bellevue University. Judd Patton, PhD, Associate Professor of Economics, Bellevue University, Bellevue, Nebraska. So there are some universities teaching that, but it's not Harvard or Yale or Princeton, is it? It's Bellevue University. Another one here. Money covers many points for which I didn't have space in my book. I especially appreciate the way you develop your arguments, building a base of the Latin roots of key monetary terms. Money and Pieces of Eight as a team would be a winning combination of textbooks for anyone conducting classes on the money issue. That's from Professor Edwin Vieira, and I do have also Pieces of Eight. So some very interesting comments there, and I've taken a few of the parts of the book to read to you. So one is here about the U.S. money system. What is lawful money? And that will probably please one of my viewers who says that, you know, what's going on now is counterfeiting, and I agree with him. So lawful money. When gold bullion, for example, is converted into coins at the United States Mint in accordance with the Act of April 2nd, 1792 as amended, those coins are lawful money, meaning money manufactured pursuant to public law. So there you go. I hope that pleases you. I forgot your YouTube name. Inflation. He talks about inflation. Inflation isn't discussed as much as football and movies, but it's close. Most people think inflation means this: a rise in the general price level caused by a relative increase in the supply of money and credit. While this definition might be correct as far as it goes, it doesn't go far enough. In fact, it falls very short, possibly criminally short. The roots of inflation are hidden from public view today by the dominant media's imprecise use of money-related words and phrases. In previous chapters, we looked at some of the most important English words and phrases related to money. Now, because you better understand the basic etymology, you are well prepared to examine inflation. Welcome to World War III. So, and then he goes on to tell you what it is, inflation. It is counterfeiting, really. It's creating you know, money out of thin air and making it seem that it's real. And there's a few quotes that he puts in the book from previous, you know, from founding fathers, from other people. One of them is by President James Madison. And I quote, "Whenever the paper has not been convertible into specie and its quantity has depended on the policy of the government, a depreciation has been produced by an undue increase or an apprehension of it." And then he quotes Anthony Sutton, one of my favorite guys, authors and researchers. And I quote Anthony Sutton: "Warburg's revolutionary plan to get American society to go to work for Wall Street was astonishingly simple." So what was Warburg's plan? Well, this was the Federal Reserve. He says, "Even today, academic theoreticians cover their blackboards with meaningless equations, and the general public struggles in bewildered confusion with inflation and the coming credit collapse, while the quite simple explanation of the problem goes undiscussed and almost entirely uncomprehended. The Federal Reserve System is a legal private monopoly of the money supply operated for the benefit of the few under the guise of protecting and promoting the public interest." I mean, I couldn't have said it better. And that's what, and there you go. Money, you need to learn about it. So if you really enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, share it far and wide. We want people, more and more people to know about this, people of all ages from everywhere around the world. You can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. I wish you all a great day. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.